and strange even for us, for 2011, that we're just tentatively at this stage labeling the alien wars. And it appears to go on for nearly 8 months. Now, whether it actually involves space aliens coming on down and shooting at us, or the threat of it, or we're just sitting here and two groups of space aliens start, duking it out over our heads, we don't know, but we're getting more and more linguistics under that seem to suggest that it's a real probability. Now, let me back up and say that we had this long-standing forecast that we thought would start May 14th that was related to what we call the global coastal event, first in our definition, and then we started calling it the global coastal phenomenon, and then phenomena, because there's just too many different things going on for it to be a single kind of an event or a phenomena. And in fact, the linguistics for that is showing up on time. Now, people said, well, we were expecting a giant wave or something from May 14th on, and I've been at pains to point out to people this is a 5-month process that this language will filter in over. So I don't think it's an individual daily event. It would take a huge event for us to continue to discuss it 5 months after the fact or 5 months ahead of it if we were anticipating it. And rather what I thought it would be lots and lots and lots of little events. And sure enough, right on schedule, we get the government now talking about, in real fear language, about an 11-foot sea level rise in the northern hemisphere just from Greenland going, and about the impact on the coast this year of no ice in the Arctic. And now the governments are talking about permafrost that ain't frozen anymore in Antarctica, and it's not refreezing in the winter, and how we're getting all of the spread of all these exotic creatures up and down all of the different coasts, and so on and so on and so on. We've got, I think, about 340 examples so far of the language starting to appear. And it's starting to build. The key to saying this, the reason that I point this out, is that however outlandish that particular set of forecasts appeared, the language is showing up in spite of everybody's interpretation of it as a giant wave or something that would impact them personally. It is indeed starting to show up, and it will impact them over the next 5 months. And this language is in the same stream that produced the alien wars language.
There's a lot of stuff on the internet about false flag, about the U.S. has anti-gravity craft and that they came originally from Nazi Germany developments, and that we've captured alien spacecraft and back-engineered anti-gravity drives, and that we...
Sure, and I would have no reason, I don't believe it, but I have no reason to doubt it, and I think there's plenty of evidence towards that effect. Yeah, but I don't want to have a belief structure around it.
But there's plenty of that stuff on the internet that there might be a false flag war where the powers that be that are not so cool will pretend to attack Earth so that the Earth will rally around them, and
that would fit within our linguistics.
Keep them in power instead of booting them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the power structure that we have now. People kowtowing to quote royalty, the whole bloodline freak thing going, the organized structured religion like the Vatican, all of this kind of stuff. By 2013, the wave of transformation will pretty much done away with most of that.
We had Jose Arguelles on the show about a month ago, and he's the guy that brought 2012 to the public, perception.
Sure, yeah, I've read his work for decades now, I guess.
Yeah, and he was a real nice guy, and we also had Joe McMoneagle on the show about 2 months ago, and Joe's one of the premier remote viewers. He was like the #1 guy for the government for years. And I said to Joe, well, what's going to happen on December 21st, 2012? And he said nothing.
It's not a big deal.
He said, I've remote viewed that day for many people. There's, it'll be a day like every other day.
Yeah.
So
what I worry about, though, is relative to that, is the period of time in 2011, reaching up until, I think, November of 2011, simply because relative to the position that we're in, the impact on the planet becomes much more exacerbated. Everybody at this point is starting to get into a paradigm shift, both actually and we had forecasted that they're going to start realizing that the word is undeniability. By the time we get to the end of this year, we're going to have an undeniability factor on the Earth changes and an undeniability factor on the dollar death and the other transformational processes that have been engaged. And we think that the reason that we're going to get this undeniability factor on the Earth changes is because the oscillations of the weather and climate will be so severe that almost everybody's going to have to acknowledge that this is just not an ordinary cycle.
We've been having thunder and lightning and rain here, and normally in June it's hot and dry.
Well, just the other day we had broke our previous heat record by 22 degrees, absolutely staggering. Wow. And then the next day it was 60 degrees colder temperature.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite odd, and it's going to get even worse. And this does not relate to solar cycle, because whatever is affecting all of the planets in the solar system is also causing the impacts on the sun. And I actually think that it's related to what I call the big squeeze, or this magnetic band at the ecliptic of the Milky Way.
Well, according to the big squeeze theory, which I believe is yours, things will be squeezed down until 2012, and then the release of the squeeze is going to cause more turbulence than the actual squeeze itself.
I believe that's the case, yes.
Well, we're in for some fun times. If you ask a stockbroker, what are you buying right now, the answer is ammo and groceries.
Yeah, I would say you could probably do without a whole lot of ammo, and you need a lot of groceries, yeah.
Well, I was fishing the other day, and we went through Colusa, a town on the way to the Sacramento River where we were fishing, and we went by a guns and ammo store, and they were just about out of ammo. So somebody's preparing for something. I mean, the public is out there buying up all the guns and ammo they can get a hold of.
Same thing around here. Just happened, I don't know, probably a week ago. Drove by a rather secluded guns and ammo place. It's an interesting building, and I always look at it because it's a Quonset hut with a giant duck on top. So you're very easily seen if you go down that particular alley. And the parking lot was jam-packed. Never seen that many cars there ever.
Yeah, people are stocking up. So somebody knows something that we don't know. And they're
no. See, they're all feeling it. They're all expressing
it
in their individual ways the anxiety that's been building up over these past couple of years, and that anxiety is just the kind of thing we tap into with the language. Because long before they actually get up off their butts, get into their car, and drive to the gun store, they will discuss these feelings or leak it out for months, and that's what we've been picking up. So the general level of anxiety that yourself and your listeners and we're all feeling is where we live at Half Past Human, and we've been seeing this since 99.
You said I think in your last newsletter that you were basically going to kind of shut things down because the future was so depressing that you didn't really want to keep the weekly newsletter going. But
correct.
But you are going to keep it going, right?
Well, Universe came and beat me about the head, and I had to readjust my plans. My deal with Universe was that I would do this work as long as I could possibly stand it, and Universe demanded it, and I had reached my limit, but Universe hadn't reached it. So yeah, I've had to readjust how I'm going to do things so that I don't spiral down into this bleak depression over it all. But nonetheless, we are continuing, and we're going to do it in a different format. We're going to release them on a weekly basis, no subscription, buy this one, not buy it as you choose, and have like a $10 price tag on them.
That's very reasonable for the amount of work you do. Well, I was actually thinking, boxes of ammunition, like one of those cubes of 22 shells that has 50 shells in it, might be fungible. You might be able to trade that for a bag of groceries easier than paper dollars that are worthless.
I'm sure that'll be the case. That was exactly the situation in Argentina. And we have Argentina as one of the most recent, quote, modern civilization countries to go through this. Now, they had a lot more practice at it than us because they've been through currency crashes every 8 or 10 years. But it's going to be interesting in the United States when this occurs. We may indeed continue to try and still use the dollar. They may try and prop it up. We could see the government taking draconian measures to try and protect the powers that be. Also, by the way, our data suggests that if it is meaningful, that nearly all the incumbents in Congress are thrown out in 2010.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
The prospects for foreign travel. Let's say you wanted to go to Europe or go to South America this summer or next fall. In one of your newsletters, you mentioned that there would be people stranded, like soldiers stranded.
Correct. Now, that's a different issue. Okay, the soldiers are going to be stranded because they rely on a subcontracting base. Okay, let me back up. We have 1,000 military bases. We, the United States, have 1,000 military bases scattered around the planet. We're in 150 different countries. It used to be that when you went to a military base, you got onto a military airplane and they flew you there. These days, you go by commercial air carrier to the local areas, take local transportation to the base, and so on. And this is also true with all of their logistics. It's all handled by private companies and private contractors. When the government gets into this coagulation phase of the hyperinflation and starts running out of money and options, then those contractors, a lot of them are just going to go out of business, and those that are not dependent on the U.S., that are not based here, will no longer be accepting dollars and won't do work for us because the dollar will be worthless. So the military bases are going to be a different issue than regular travelers. If regular travelers, to a certain extent, have money and wherewithal, even in spite of adverse circumstances, they can probably buy their way home. But some of them are going to be caught out in the sense that you may have a ticket that, say, takes you to Italy, for instance. You fly from New York to Italy. Hyperinflation starts. and you go to get back on that airplane, and they say, no, you bought your ticket in dollars, we've had to put on a surcharge because you didn't pay anything near enough, and then they're going to want $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 to cover the cost of the ticket getting back. That kind of a deal.
And is there any possibility that we would go to let's say a gold or silver standard, because the United States does produce a lot of those metals?
It is possible, but none of that would be quick. That would be a 4 to 5 year process. There will be scripts offered according to our data, individual kinds of scripts, giant gray and black markets where, as you point out, fungible goods, actual possessable goods are much more in demand than anything relating to currency, etc. So we will see those, and we'll actually see a de facto silver standard. But I believe it'll be on the background in the sense you won't go to a Safeway store to trade silver for, a gallon of milk. But you might go to somebody, trade your silver for the script of that particular county, and then go to that store and use that script.
And do you think the stores will have stuff in them? I mean, will transportation hold up so that you can take food from the Central Valley in California and deliver it to New York City?
No, that's not going to occur. I mean, that's going to die as part of the chaos that we're going to reach through from November to November. From November of 2009, as the dollar dies, a lot of the just-in-time